Good morning to all of you. I hope you all are doing well today. I am thrilled to be your host for today's webinar. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Sunita Prasad, and I am the Vice President, Corporate Development and Investor Relations at Revolve. I see in our audience we have participants from quite a few countries. It is great to have such a diverse group of attendees. Um, I'm sure you will all get valuable information from our team of experts. This webinar is the first in a series of webinars that the team at Revolve will be hosting over the next 12 months. We look to share our views and updates on some of the key topics and opportunities the company is focused on. We are kicking off things today with a look at the Mexican renewable energy market. Revolve has been active in this market for over a decade and currently has utility scale development portfolio of 1.25 gigawatts, as well as a fast growing distributed generation business with 9 megawatts in operation and under construction, and a pipeline of 156 megawatts. That brings us to the topic for today's webinar, which is current opportunities in the Mexican renewable energy market. Mexico is undergoing significant transformation. The Mexican government has a target to add 30 gigawatts of clean energy by the year 2030. So there is definitely a growing demand for electricity in Mexico. To help us better understand this situation, our participants, who are all located in Mexico, are going to discuss the future of utility scale projects and distributed generation projects in Mexico. Let me introduce them to you. They are Rigoberto Bojoquez. He is the head of utility scale projects at Revolve. Eric Hickert is the head of distributed generation at Revolve, and Humberto Bustamante is the group technical manager at Revolve. So, gentlemen, let's start with a general question. How do you assess the current renewable energy market in Mexico, and what makes it appealing? Let's start with you, Rigoberto.
Thank you, Sunita. Well, if we're going to talk about Mexican market, I believe the first thing we should remember is Mexico's potential of renewable energy. According to the 2022 report from the National Renewable Energy Labs, Mexico has around, if I'm mistaken, 3,000 gigawatts of wind power. But so far, we only have 7 gigawatts of installed capacity, at least as of 2021. And solar, Mexico's potential is even larger. It's almost 25,000 gigawatts of solar photovoltaic. But the installed capacity is only about 7 gigawatts. So this is great news for both for DG and solar farms. And this scenario by itself is very attractive. Now, these are the largest numbers for the country. Of course, there are other sources of renewable energy, for example, conventional geothermal, right? Mexico is about 2.5 gigawatts. Okay, so these numbers alone makes Mexico an interesting market for investment, both for distributed generation and utility scale projects. Now, from the government point of view, let's remember that in 2008, Mexico established a national energy strategy. There it was indicated that 35% of all the energy produced in the country will come from renewable sources. And that goal was supposed to be achieved by 2024. As we know as well, Mexico ratified the Paris Agreement commitments, like 3 years ago, 2020. So I can tell you that the interest of the government is still there. Of course, this is not as simple as it may sound, right? We also know what happened in the world during 2020 with the pandemic. There were a lot of plans and efforts that were canceled, or at least heavily delayed. And Mexico was no exception to this. But here we are, 3 years later. The pandemic effects have been fading away. Several activities and plans have been retaken, and but energy is still highly demanded. So, if you take a look to the commercial sectors and large industrial sector, large companies actually announcing they're coming to Mexico, and they are actually demanding specifically clean energy, right? Revolve has actively continued his presence in Mexico. We have been talking to authorities, private developers, consultants. I can tell you that it was not until this year, 2023, that there is some signs that the sector is retaking its path, at least in the utility scale market. Private development of renewable energy projects take some time. I can tell you that. I mean, keeping our operation in the country after the pandemic has allowed us to be in line to continue our development as soon as the market successfully resumes. So the potential for electricity generation is still there, and the demand is only increasing, especially in the industrial sector, which is expressing high interest in renewable energy sources for their operation. So for me, it's just the next step. Simple as that. Sunita.
That's interesting. So there is a continuous increase in demand. Thanks, Rigoberto. Eric, can you share with us your perspective on this?
Sure, happy to do that, Sunita. It's amazing what an enviable position Mexico is in when it comes to, I'm going to focus on distributed generation with renewable solutions. As Rigoberto has pointed out, Mexico has incredible solar and wind resources. I mean, totally untapped. And Mexico is next to the world's largest economy. That means we can, we'll be developing incredible amounts of production, new production and growth in our economy to support the North American or NAFTA 2.0, which Mexico is part of. Mexico's industrial and food sectors have grown to serve that North American market as well as global markets, and will continue to grow. So Mexico's Revolve's renewable energy solutions help companies in Mexico significantly reduce their carbon footprint. How do we do this? Our business model permits our customers to get the benefit of those renewable solutions, but without having to invest or go into debt. That's super important. And how do we do that? We do that by offering as-a-service agreements. This way, the customer can focus on their core business and leave the energy investments to Revolve. Thanks.
Wow, that's great. So yes, Mexico definitely is strategically located and has unlimited solar and wind to generate a lot of renewable energy. Now, Umberto, what can you tell us on this subject?
From the technical standpoint, Mexico presents a compelling landscape for renewable energy investments. As already said, but I want to confirm, the country's geographic diversity allows for both development of wind and solar projects in different regions of the country. This is important because it optimizes the energy generation and the mix on the grid that is required to stabilize. Additionally, advancements in renewable energy technologies and grid integration solutions have made it increasingly feasible to harness this Mexico's renewable potential in an efficient and reliable way. Furthermore, the regulatory environment in Mexico, while presenting challenges at times, is evolving to support renewable energy development. We can also see a new hype with the next government transition that will happen next year. There is also a present pressure from the US to increase actions to promote clean energy, and that in combination with the increasing the energy demand, the renewables being feasible and competitive, overall, it creates opportunity for this development.
So now let's look at distributed generation in a little more detail. Humberto, where are you currently seeing the opportunities in this market?
Distributed generation in Mexico offers several exciting opportunities, especially in the commercial and industrial sectors. Many businesses are increasingly looking to generate their own clean energy to reduce electricity costs, enhance energy resilience, and meet the sustainability targets. This trend has created a growing market for distributed solar and other renewable solutions. Furthermore, the nearshoring effect driven by supply chain restructuring and global events have made Mexico an attractive location for manufacturing and industrial operations. This in turn increases the demand for reliable and sustainable energy sources, further fueling the distributed generation market. So there are multiple factors overall converging to create a favorable environment and a need for distributed generation investments in Mexico. Sunita.
Yeah, I'm sure this is an interesting piece of information for our viewers. And Eric, what do you have to say on the opportunities in the DG market?
Well, in addition to what Humberto just shared with us, we need to keep in mind that renewable energy solutions in Mexico have incredibly good economics. And this is achieved without any sort of government help or fiscal support for the projects. What does that mean? It means that our industrial and commercial customers can achieve not only their sustainability goals, but in most cases, they'll have savings too. This is not the case in many countries. You know, companies have those sustainability goals, and it can be very expensive to achieve them. Well, in Mexico, we have this really special combination of benefits, and I think that makes the market really unique. Revolve supports our customers' sustainability goals, as well as their profitability, in particular here in Mexico.
So do you see the recently announced proposed DG rule changes, and in particular, the increase in the 1 megawatt cap that applies to solar and CHP projects having a positive or a negative impact on the DG market in Mexico?
Definitely. These changes in the regulation will have a very positive impact. It practically doubles the size of the projects that are possible today without specialized permitting. Companies in Mexico will be able to install larger renewable projects, which will have an even larger positive impact on their business and their sustainability goals.
Okay. Humberto, recently you participated in a webinar which was based on solar market outlook. What should we expect from the DG sector in Mexico in the next 12 months?
Looking ahead over the next 12 months, we can anticipate several key developments in the distributed generation sector in Mexico. First and foremost, Continued growth is expected as businesses increasingly recognize the economic and environmental benefits of renewable energy in distributed generation. While there is no additional energy margin because of the pandemic effect and the delays on the permitting on utility scales that has been in the last years, the demand right now is surpassing the generation at critical hours. So there is a need for immediate solution that can be covered by distributed generation. Not only the global energy generation I'm talking about, but there's also a need for specialized functions like reducing the peak demand that increase the fees of the electricity, also shifting the energy consumption profile, and having the energy backup alternative in order to cover for the blackouts that are already happening. All these are starting to be critical, and these problems can be solved or at least mitigated in a great way with advancements in technology like improved solar panel efficiency and energy storage solutions. All this making distributed generation systems even more attractive. These innovations will enable businesses to maximize the clean energy generation and further reduce their reliance on traditional grid sources. Additionally, as sustainability becomes a more significant factor for businesses, we can expect a greater emphasis on corporate renewable energy targets, with many organizations setting ambitious targets for and actively pursuing distributed generation installations to meet their goals. Sunita.
Okay, that's all very good information on DG. Now let's move on to the utility scale. The utility scale market was the primary driver of new electricity generation in Mexico prior to the current administration taking office in 2018. Mexico announced last November a 30 gigawatt increase in renewable energy by 2030. Rigoberto, let's start with you. How do you feel about this statement?
Well, Sunita, I can tell you that I still remember the first time the 2024 goal was mentioned. I remember that 16 years sounded like a lot of time. We're now at the antechamber of that deadline, the 2024, and we know that 35% is not going to be achieved. Of course, that puts some ideas in your head. Now we have a new goal, right? This pledge to develop a further 30 gigawatts of renewables by 2030. I believe it was announced at the Climate Summit. And it does sound as challenging as the first goal. But in my opinion, a closer deadline also sounds like the government went through a more thoughtful process before simply like just announcing it. Even from a politics perspective, this announcement implies an achievable goal. And it does sound achievable. It is just that I don't see it happening without private investment. And for the government to comply with this position, the regulatory environment should compromise with private development, which requires private investment to succeed. There's simply not other way. For the last years, we all know that regulatory environment has been challenging, at least everybody that in the market. I mean, but I believe this should change, and it is going to change.
Okay. So you just mentioned that the regulatory environment has been challenging for this part of the market. Have you seen any changes since the 30 gigawatt announcement?
Oh, yes. I previously mentioned that we have seen some market signs. I meant for example, ministries that halted their activities announced this year, they are retaking those activities. There were some permitting processes that were completely paused, and they already started regaining some of their former movement. Um, of course, the administration is facing a great challenge. Retaking activities is not as simple as just continuing where you left, right? Conditions have changed, scenarios have evolved. I've been talking with some authorities that they're currently dealing with a ton of paperwork. Um, some requests are like 2, 3, 4 years old, and they don't only have to comply with new demands, but with different regulations that were in place during the last years. So, but this is definitely not a simple task. But there are changes that we have been expecting and that they are happening now. As I also mentioned, renewable energy projects take some time to develop. And well, we know that the first part of this administration focused mainly on oil and gas, but that was their strategy. But for anyone to participate in this clean energy 30 gigawatts goal for 2030, the time to start is now.
Okay. So, Umberto, how about you? Do you feel future growth will be focused on wind or solar, or a mixture of both? And what role does battery storage have to play in this?
Future growth in utility scale, right? Renewable energy market in Mexico will surely involve a combination of both wind and solar projects. Right now, solar is really competitive prices, but if you just do solar projects, it will be create an instability of the grid. So you need a mixed generation, and also to prevent that instability, the energy storage will help. Batteries will play a role in ensuring the reliability and the grid integration of renewable energy sources. Talking in a countrywide scale, their initial task will be to achieve the energy production profile by a few minutes to ramp up generation and disconnection to ensure stability of the grid. But with more integration of batteries, it will also be able to achieve the energy generation by a few hours to match the generation with the energy demand. Additionally, we know of alternative technologies for energy storage different from batteries that right now are in pilot plants in different countries. And these pilot plants are already in operation. We may soon see them feasible for storing energy for longer period of times. An example of these technologies are water pumping and gravity storage. So if this comes to be feasible, it will provide a way to store the energy for even longer periods, like seasonal, like to store for summer to the winter, and to have a large pool of energy to add to the grid. This enhances the stability and the flexibility of the grid, making it possible to achieve higher levels of renewable energy penetration. As Mexico continues its transition to cleaner energy sources, we anticipate that the deployment of energy storage solutions will become increasingly prevalent, further supported the growth of both wind and solar projects.
Okay. So once again to you, Umberto, with respect to the utility scale market, what do you expect to see in the next 12 months?
In the utility scale, we can expect to see a growth in development of wind and solar for sure over the next 12 months. In, in the regulatory environment, as the regulatory environment becomes more stable and permitting processes resume, this reactivation will also involve the private market sector. Sooner or later, the government will realize that private investment is essential to keep up with the increased energy demand. And even while distributed generation is going to help to mitigate this increased demand, it will not be enough. So utility scale has to be reactivated very soon. And private developers, both domestic and international, are likely to play a significant role in this growth. Thanks.
Okay. So now let's talk about nearshoring. Recently in the news, we have been hearing a lot about nearshoring effect because of restructuring of the supply chain in North American market. And also there is consequences of the Russia-Ukraine conflict. So how will this benefit Mexico and the opportunities this provides the Mexican renewable energy market? I would like to get your take on this. So, Rigoberto, let's start with you.
Sure. Thank you, Sunita. Well, I believe Eric already mentioned about the importance of geographical location, and particularly in Mexico position, we have this great opportunity because we're very close to the largest economy in the world, right? There is a reason why energy production is promoted close to the energy consumption market. I mean, this is not new. It has happened in the several countries before, and it's happening right now. No, it's not something that only happens in Mexico. Nearshoring means that the production geographical location should not go far away from the consumption market, right? Coincidentally, northern Mexico, where actually Revolve has most of its projects, is a huge renewable energy potential. Once you produce that energy, well, you can either export it or use it to create the products that will be required by both the American and Canadian market. The nature of distributed generation, for example, is proof to that. I mean, you set your panels close to the infrastructure that is going to use that energy. And also in utility scale projects, this area is especially sensitive to this. There are several geographical, technical, and mainly economical constraints to be considered and actually take advantage of where you produce your energy. And if there are economical constraints, I mean, to develop any project, you're required to play according to the market rules, right? There's no point in going against the market. I'm convinced that the additional 30 gigawatts goal that Mexico just put ahead of us should and would take advantage of nearshoring and Mexico's geographical position. Thank you.
Okay, that's great. And Eric, what do you have to say on this, on nearshoring?
Yeah, nearshoring. Well, we just have to remember 2020. That's when the world realized how vulnerable it was to global supply chains. Mexico, no doubt, will be the key country in the North America and strengthening the supply chains for the US and Canada and even other areas of the global economy. Mexico has, I'm repeating myself, but has ample untapped solar and wind resources. We have a skilled workforce, and it's practically, like we've been saying, next door. So even And even, even in the same time zone, that makes a big difference. I mean, if you have 7-8 hours time zone differences or more, it complicates operations. So for Mexico, I think this means a tremendous investment opportunity to develop not only its renewable resources to a world-class level, but also conventional energy and the grid to support what we expect to be hundreds, if not thousands, of companies that will open operations in Mexico due to the nearshoring. So super opportunity.
Okay, that's great to hear. What about you, Humberto? How will nearshoring benefit Mexico and the opportunities it will provide for the Mexican renewable energy market?
With the relocation of the manufacturing and the industrial operations, this will cause a surge in the electricity demand. Businesses will seek sustainable and cost-effective energy sources. And this also causes problems to them that needs to be solved, as I was previously mentioning. This effect is already being felt at distributed generation, where industries require creative solutions involving different technologies like cogeneration, heat and power, solar photovoltaic, solar thermal, and batteries, and even developing smart microgrids. Revolve is helping businesses to create these solutions and implementing them, allowing for their continual operations. Thanks.
Okay. So as we conclude this webinar, I would like to ask our experts to wrap up by saying a few words on, we go back to the topic of current opportunities in the Mexican renewable energy market. We will start with you, Rigoberto. To conclude, how do you feel about the utility scale opportunities in Mexico?
How do I feel?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I can tell you something, Sunita. Have there been improvements and openness from government and government agencies after the 30 gigawatts goal was announced? Yes. Can you see an increase in activity in the market? Yes. You see in the news all these large industry projects that are coming to Mexico, all of them with high demands of clean energy. So, in my opinion, how do I feel? I feel that it's a great moment for renewable projects in Mexico.
Okay, that's great to hear. Humberto, we'll go to you. Can you tell us which technologies would provide good opportunities for renewable energy in Mexico?
Well, the Mexican renewable energy has many opportunities driven by the growing demand. For utility scale, new generation will surely come from a mix of wind, solar, with a slowly integration of battery storage. For the immediate need right now, distributed generation will help and will require innovative solutions, such as hybrid projects and microgrids. And all this comes from collaboration and investments. So Revolve is focused on leveraging these opportunities, ensuring the technical feasibility, the sustainability, and the long-term performance of our projects. Mexico renewable energy sector is poised for growth, and we are dedicated to playing a significant role in its expansion.
Okay, that's great. And Eric, what do you have to say about distributed generation opportunities in Mexico?
Huge. Huge. Let me explain a little bit. Here we were talking about nearshoring, and I would just say nearshoring is not a theoretical concept. It's an actual reality. It's happening right now. In Mexico, the demand for energy is outstripping the supply. We've been contacted by a number of companies from different parts of the world that just can't get enough energy from the grid from the utility companies. So exactly what Humberto was talking about, creating, having very creative, innovative solutions to help companies continue to grow and to operate in Mexico. Just as a huge opportunity. We think that the regulation will probably get a little bit more opened up so that all of these investing companies and of different nations will be able to achieve their goals. So, and we're there to help and to support.
Okay, that's great. Thank you to our three experts, Rigoberto, Humberto, and Eric. They are based in Mexico and have hands-on experience on what happens on the ground. Thank you to our viewers for joining today's webinar. I hope you found the information we shared valuable and insightful. We look forward to all of you joining us again for our next webinar, so keep an eye out for future announcements. And in the meantime, don't forget to visit our website and sign up to stay updated on all the activities taking place towards the growth of our business here at Revolve. I would like to express my sincere gratitude for all of you for your time and participation in joining us. And have a wonderful day, and goodbye, and take care from all of us at Revolve.